Is this for real? That was the only thing running through Judge Harris's mind as he looked at the quiet, plainly dressed woman standing before him in a packed courtroom. Something wasn't adding up, and in that moment he knew exactly what he had to do. He leaned forward, peering over his glasses. "Ma'am, could you please state your name again?" he asked, his voice calm but firm. She hesitated. Anna Brooks," she replied softly, barely above a whisper. The courtroom was silent. The prosecutors shuffled their papers. Even the bailiff looked up, sensing something was off. Judge Harris flipped through the case file again. Everything on paper painted her as a petty thief, caught shoplifting from a downtown supermarket. No priors, no clear motive, but the way she stood there, still, almost too still, sent a ripple of suspicion down his spine. He cleared his throat. "Miss Brooks, do you have anyone here with you today? A lawyer? Family?" She shook her head slowly. "No, Your Honor." Harris glanced at the DA, who seemed oddly eager to move the case along. "Let's get this over with," the prosecutor had said earlier. But now the judge wasn't so sure. He turned back to Anna. "Tell me something. Why did you take the food?" She looked up for the first time, and in her eyes, wide, tired, unflinching, he saw something that made his stomach tighten. "It wasn't for me," she said. "It was for someone else." Judge Harris felt a chill creep up his spine, though the room was warm. He leaned back slightly, fingers steepled beneath his chin. "For someone else?" he repeated. "Who?" Anna hesitated again. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. Then she swallowed, voice trembling. "My son." A low murmur rippled through the courtroom. Harris raised a hand, and the room quieted. "Your file says nothing about a child," he said carefully. "I didn't list him," she replied, eyes dropping to the floor. "He's not legally mine. Not anymore." The words hit like a strange echo, hollow and loaded. Harris narrowed his eyes. He had handled thousands of cases, but this was different. Not just because of her story, but because of the way she told it. No theatrics, no begging, just a deep, weary truth in her tone. He flipped through the file again. The items she stole: baby formula, diapers, canned soup, a blanket. The DA rose. "Your Honor, this is a clear-cut case. We request sentencing today." Harris didn't even look at him. His eyes stayed on Anna. "Where is the boy now?" he asked softly. Anna hesitated. Then, "With someone who shouldn't have him." The room held its breath. Judge Harris's eyes didn't leave her. "What do you mean, someone who shouldn't have him?" Anna's hands tightened around each other. "It's complicated," she said, "but I had no choice. CPS took him months ago, placed him with a relative. I didn't know how bad it was until it was too late." "Are you saying the child is in danger?" A flicker of something, fear, maybe regret, passed over her face. "Yes." Gasps and whispers erupted in the back rows. Harris shot a glance at the bailiff, who stepped forward to quiet the room. The DA stood again, clearly annoyed. "Your Honor, with all due respect, this is irrelevant to the case. We're here because she stole property, and we'll get to that." Harris cut him off, his voice sharp for the first time. "But if this woman is telling the truth, we may be dealing with more than a theft." He turned back to Anna. "Do you have any proof? Anything at all?" She opened her small canvas bag, trembling fingers reaching inside. She pulled out a single object, a worn photograph. She stepped forward and the bailiff took it to the bench. Harris examined it closely, a little boy maybe 4 years old. He wore a faded blue jacket and stood beside a man whose face was partially turned away. What struck Harris wasn't just the child's tired eyes. It was the bruises along his arm, faint but unmistakable. His jaw clenched. "This photo was taken 2 weeks ago," Anna said quietly. "I followed them from a distance. I know it's not legal, but I couldn't just do nothing." Judge Harris stared at the photo a long time. Then he set it down, looked straight into her eyes and said, "This court is now in recess for 15 minutes. Bailiff, my chambers. Ms. Brooks, stay here." And with that, he stood up and left, the photograph still in his hand. Inside his chambers, Judge Harris paced slowly, the photo gripped tightly in his hand. He had seen too many people try to manipulate the system, but this didn't feel like that. Something about Anna Brooks rang true. He picked up the phone. "Get me someone from Child Protective Services," he said. Within 20 minutes, a social worker named Karen Levy arrived, a woman in her 40s with a no-nonsense attitude. Harris showed her the photo. She frowned immediately. "We had a file on this child," she murmured, "placed with a maternal uncle after removal for neglect. We did a home check 2 months ago." "Do another," Harris interrupted. "Now, quietly." She nodded and left without another word. Back in the courtroom, Harris returned to the bench. Anna looked up, eyes full of quiet anxiety. The crowd had thinned, but a few reporters had arrived, sensing a bigger story than a shoplifting case. "Ms. Brooks," Harris began, "you're being released on your own recognizance pending further review. We are also issuing an emergency welfare check on the child in question." Anna gasped. "Thank you." He held up a hand. "Don't thank me yet. If there's more to this, I want full truth. No more holding back." She nodded. "Yes, Your Honor." 2 days later, a knock came on Harris's office door. Karen entered, her face pale. "We found him. You were right. The uncle, he's being charged. The boy's got bruises, underfed, but he'll be okay now." Harris exhaled, rubbing his temples. "And the mother?" "She never gave up. She didn't steal out of greed. She stole because no one listened when she cried for help." A week later, back in court, Judge Harris stood before Anna once more. This time she looked different, hopeful though still tired. He glanced at the file, then at her. "Ms. Brooks," he said, "I'm dismissing the charges." The courtroom was still. "You broke the law," he continued, "but you did it trying to protect someone who couldn't protect himself. That doesn't make it right, but it sure as hell makes it human." Anna swallowed hard, eyes misty. "And your son?" Harris asked. She smiled. "He's safe now, and he knows I never stopped fighting." Outside the courthouse, a reporter tried to get a word from Judge Harris. "Judge, do you believe justice was served today?" He paused, looked out at the city with its noise, its chaos, its quiet acts of courage. "I believe today," he said, "we did something close." Then he walked away, the sun warm on his face, and for once, the gavel didn't feel so heavy.